First of all, thank you very much for your hospitality. I think Minister Paul Makonda has welcomed me superbly well. First of all, as well, I want to thank President Samir for supporting my trip and making sure that I met the right people. Obviously, Mr. Paul Makonda, Minister of Sport, but also the Minister of Tourism, Minister of Land. It's been a very, very informative trip. And my experience is very different to the one I anticipated, I have to say. I came here as a sportsman, as a football player, as you all know, who had a career in the Premier League internationally, and my first hat is always football. So coming here and exploring different ideas, different conversations, I had them all in my head. But the great thing about my trip here has been what I've been opened up to. I've been opened up to so many different things in different sectors, but also the huge, huge, huge potential that is here. And like I said yesterday, you have to come to know and understand and to see. Because I don't think there's no amount of telling that will prepare you for what you actually see when you arrive here. The beauty, the culture, the vibes, the food, which is always important. But it's been very, very, very heartwarming when I've actually arrived here and put my feet on the ground here in Tanzania, and you feel that. So again, thank you to the people here and the people that have made it possible for me as well. And one of the things I was immediately thinking about when we organised the trip was AFCON. AFCON is a huge, huge event, a global event that deserves the respect and the honour of all the other tournaments internationally. And that was one of the things I was definitely coming here to talk about in terms of the exposure, the media, and the lead up to the AFCON. And again, another huge, huge, refreshing surprise when I arrived here. I've been on my travels and I've seen the resources put into the infrastructure in the stadiums, the training pitches, which are ongoing but in full flow, and the energy around those sites are amazing. And talking of infrastructure, just again the surprise of I was on a railway. We travelled, and I said before, it was like being on the Eurostar in Europe. It was amazing to see. And to get to understand how the land lies here, the importance of Tanzania, again, from what I've learned while I've been here, the responsibility that it has to other countries, the surrounding countries that rely on some of the infrastructure and logistics that are here in Tanzania, has been amazing for me to hear, but also to understand. And again, there's been some really good positive talks and agreements in terms of I want to help the youth here. People are asking, oh, why are you here? What are you doing? The media are asking, what are you doing here? And it's easy for me to answer that question immediately, because all my life, since I've had the responsibility of being a professional footballer, I've always wanted to help other people. I've had a foundation for 12 years in the UK. We do work internationally in other parts of Africa. Tanzania will be an extension of that. I want to help the young kids. So we are going to be doing more with the young children. We've had an agreement earlier today with the Minister of Land as well, through the Minister of Sport here, Mr. Makonda, to allow me to have an opportunity to help the young people with having a site here, which we want to develop, which is hugely exciting. And again, how can I, as a football player who came from humble beginnings, only think about myself and think about my community where I'm born. I was always one of those young people through the inspiration of my mum and my dad to make sure you help others that maybe not as fortunate as yourself, who need inspiring, who need that inspiration. And if I can be that, that's what I will be. And Tanzania, definitely, as I said, since the way I've been welcomed, since the reception of the people here when I've gone through the streets, it made me even more enthusiastic to fulfill those conversations and those positive talks that we've had. So thank you. one of the other things we've agreed as well is that congratulations to your under-17s team. Are going to go to Qatar for the World Cup. Me and my football agency, New Era, will be sending a team out there to go and watch. Not only watch, but to really focus on the Tanzania under-17s group to see which talent that we can identify and form a pathway to things outside of Tanzania, which is very important. And I always said this when we first had some conversations. Some of the African countries that we now know and we now take for granted as being normal in Europe, in England, where I'm from, we were only made aware of them by football players. Ivory Coast, I know about Ivory Coast. I have explored, I've looked at, I'm familiar with because of Didier Drogba, because of Yaya Toure, Kolo Toure, Gervinho. These guys, they have been the icons, they've been the talismans for the exposure. And I can see that happening here in your country. So the support for sport, for football, is huge because it moves people, it brings attention, and it inspires generations of people to be successful and then to give back to your community where you're from and your country. So I definitely say this, as I said, I'm infused when I came here. I didn't quite know what to expect outside that, but I look at it and I see your president's vision for investing in infrastructure, investing in making sure you get the AFCON here as well, and making sure she inspires the other ministers to really push forward with making this country as great as it can be. And I've only been here a short amount of time, and to have seen so many different aspects. I've been on the safari in the Serengeti, I've been, as I said, on the railway station, I've been on the train, travelling from different parts to another part. I've seen the construction of a football stadium and a training pitch, among so many other beautiful things, and I keep going back to it, but I have to. But the food as well has been nothing short of amazing. One thing I have to say as well, I'm honoured to have been considered and asked to be tourism ambassador for your country, and that's a conversation I'm looking forward to really to taking forward and having. And you know what I have to say as well, I think a lot of press have had a lot to say since I've been here. We've been in the media for all the right reasons, but there's always some negative press that comes with it. But I'm ready for that, don't worry. I've had negative press before, and I've come to Africa many times in my life, different parts. I'm here again, and I'll continue to keep coming, because nobody should be telling me what I can and what I can't do. My sole reason, my personal reason for making that stance before I came here was something that is always true to me, and that was to come and help inspire the young people and the young generation through the sport that I love, which is football. And that will never change. And so, again, I always like to reiterate as well, I'm not a politician. I'm not here to talk about politics. I've never done that in my own country. I would not do that anywhere else. But I'd like to reiterate again, the young people deserve to be inspired. I played in a league, I played in an era where African players were a huge part of that landscape. So why wouldn't I come? Why wouldn't I come to see where they're from? Why wouldn't I come to see where the people that I've fought against, I played with, where they're from, their homes, and where I can inspire as well, the people that they grew up around. So that's huge to me. And like I say, I think I'd like to reiterate one more point before I leave. And sit down at the table. I arrived here thinking purely of football, and I'm leaving now enthused by the potential of the country. So thank you. The question was a crazy question about boxing. This is from a long time ago. Yeah, I was interested in boxing. I wanted to go from a professional footballer, to professional boxer. And I trained for like 6 or 7 months. I was training in the Olympic Village. I was sparring there, sparring at home as well. I had a gym in my house, a ring in my house. But the license, they didn't give me the license. Unfortunately, somebody passed away when my license went in, so it was a difficult moment, and I had to wait to get the license, but I trained for 6 months. There was no way I could wait anymore. So I just, in the end, I think somebody was looking down to say, protect me and stop. But it was one of the most enjoyable things I've done. At that time in my life, I needed it massively. Personal issues I had with family and the feeling of not playing football, it supplemented that as well. So it was great, and it kept me fit. So yeah, I love boxing. So, but it wasn't my thing to do. So I enjoyed it. Next question was about would I bring any of my friends or legends to a match in this country? That's something we've agreed on doing. It's great. I think my era of players is quite unique now in that some of the players are more famous now than when they played, because of social media and stuff, so the names travel for further and longer. So that's something we are now going to explore, and we're going to go and do, and we're going to achieve this. So watch this space. You'll see some big guys coming through now, and that's one of the things that we are really talking about executing. The next question was special needs teams in Tanzania's plan. Yes, listen, I've only been here a couple of days, so it's impossible to go and see everything and everyone, but that's definitely something that we're communicating, and again, we don't see people with special needs as separate from anybody. We encompass all people as being one, and it will just be something that will be incorporated in what we are doing, I'm sure, on our travels and when we're doing any work here with the young people. What will you tell people about Tanzania after your visit? Well, I touched on that before. Huge potential. I came here, like I said, thinking purely about football. I'm leaving thinking about many other things, and the beauty in the country. There's so many different wonders that are here. I've managed to experience going to one of the national parks, Serengeti, going in a hot air balloon like that. I've never done that before, and it was just like an amazing experience, something that I was messaging my wife and my kids about. Yeah, my list can go on and on of what I've seen here, but I think one of the main things here is the energy from the people here has been really, really refreshing to see in a world where, at the moment, where there's a lot of problems going on around the world, and the news is very kind of depressing at times. It was just nice at this time to come here and have some real good energy around me, and again, thank you to the people of your country for that. What was it like to play with Alex Ferguson? Oh, the boss, he was hard. He was a hard man. He was a great man, but he was very, very tough. I think all good leaders have to be comfortable having very uncomfortable conversations and be very authoritative. You couldn't get away with a lot with him, and I think the players respected that. And I think teams need a leader who leads by example. And I think I'll give you one example. He was always the first guy in the training ground, always the last guy out. And that dedication spread through the team like wildfire. And that's why we became such an aggressive and successful team under him. And the last question, that's it. So thank you very much again. I'd just like to say thank you guys, really appreciate it. We have to run because I have to get on a plane. I'll leave you to the Minister to address you for the final time.